you feel like you don't have time for your personal goals? Well, today I want to dig in on why I think so many people struggle with this and how to start making time for your hobbies, for your personal projects, going to the gym, all the stuff that really matters. Quick note before we get started, this video is sponsored as usual by Lifehack Tribe. Stick around to the end of the video to learn how you can get a week in Lifehack Tribe for just $1. Okay, let's talk about what's really going on here. When people say I don't have time for my personal goals, I'd argue that what's really going on is you really don't have the energy. Let me share an example. I had a client named Margie, and she swore up, down, left, right, center. She was so busy, she didn't even have time to make 30 minutes to go to the gym. Sounds like an exaggeration, but I pushed her on it, and she said, no, I swear. She was willing to die on that hill. So I asked her, Margie, let's just track your time, something I do with all my clients. And lo and behold, she tracked her time. An average of over 2 weeks, she was spending 11 hours a week reading the news. 11 hours. I mean, that's like an hour and a half every night she's spending just consuming the news. I mean, that's completely bonkers. And of course, she was embarrassed and really confused by these results. I mean, she felt like, if I've got all this extra time, then how could I have convinced myself I didn't even have 30 minutes to go to the gym? Because even though she had the time, gang, she didn't have the energy. And I get it. I mean, I have a lot of clients who've got the time, but by the time they get back from work and deal with kids and make dinner, they cannot bring themselves to do something that requires willpower, that requires energy, that requires creativity. So I'm going to share a few of my tips for getting that energy back so you can start working towards just having personal goals again. But before we dig into this issue, let me talk about a warning. There is no way this happens overnight. This takes planning, this takes preparation and groundwork. It is not as simple as flipping a switch, but it is worth it. So let's get into tip number 1. Create the space, not just the time space, but the energy and the emotional space too. Everybody wants a cabin in the woods, but nobody wants to chop down the trees. I think we get caught up, gang, on the idea that the great things that we want to do in our life need to happen in like these grand, momentous like moments. But something as small as 1 hour a day on average, 30 minutes even, it's more effective every day than one giant push would be. And it's more practical and it's more attainable for people like you and me. So personal example, Carrie and I are currently writing a book and it's in different blocks, but essentially I'm spending about 7.5 hours a week on writing. That's essentially an hour a day when you break it down. And that's while we're running and growing this business, traveling the world, renovating another apartment and raising our first daughter. So there's other things going on in our life. And we are going to completely write a book in the span of less than 1 year by simply dedicating an hour a day to it without neglecting our business, our daughter, or locking ourselves in the basement, working long work blocks. So let me give you another example just from my personal life. We knew when we bought our apartment that we were going to completely gut renovate it. And I knew that I wanted to be in charge of that. I wanted to do the design. I'm particular that way. And it was a daily commitment. I really took my time on the project and I wanted to make sure that I didn't just do it, but that I enjoyed it. But it took years of groundwork to make sure that I had the schedule that was flexible enough to take on a project like that. I just want to make sure you're understanding what I'm saying. It means that Carrie and I worked for years to create systems in our life and systems in our business and become more productive and more organized. And it was all of that work that finally got me to a point where I could dedicate an hour a day or 2 hours a day to writing a book or designing our house. So it's okay to have to take 2 steps back sometimes to take 5 steps forward. I mean, most people just get home from the job, 7 p.m., totally exhausted from their workday, and they think they're gonna do something. There's no way you're gonna be able, or you'd ever wanna spend a couple hours on a home renovation project or working on a book after a day like that. Even if you don't have the time, you don't have the energy. But gang, because I finish work every day at 2 p.m. at the latest, that means I'm not grounded to dust at the end of my day. I'm not drained. I still have energy to work on projects that I'm passionate about. Now, again, there were years of groundwork that went into that, right? That's the key to this step, accepting that there's lily pads you're gonna have to jump to in order to finally get where you wanna go. So I accept that maybe today you're not where you need to be, but you might as well start building the systems and getting productive and getting your time back so that you can in the future have the time and the energy to work on a project like writing a book, which is a great segue to tip number 2. Make everything in your life 1% easier every time you touch it, every time you interact with it. Every email, every project, everything 1% easier. You will get there so much faster this way, I'm telling you, gang. I think we're programmed to approach everything like thinking, how do I get this done? I just need to get it done. How do I get it done? So much so that we're never thinking, how do I get this done so that it's actually easier to get done the next time? Let me give you an example. When we had our brand new baby, I would take her in the morning so that Carrie could get some sleep because she saw her in the evening. Now, every day I would walk in the kitchen to make my cup of coffee because coffee is life. And I would have my baby in one arm. But the ingredients were all scattered around our kitchen. I mean, it would take me 30 minutes to make myself a cup of coffee because some stuff was over here and some stuff was over there, and I'm all doing it with one hand. One morning, I just got sick of it. I handed the baby to Carrie. I marched right back in the kitchen, reorganized all of our coffee supplies into one coffee station. Now, it takes less than 15 minutes for me to get in the kitchen, even with one arm, and make a cup of coffee with my baby in one arm. From that moment forward, it has always been easier to make my coffee. Every morning, I'm saving like 15, 20 minutes of my time. And getting there was just as simple as reorganizing some stuff in my kitchen. So again, tip number 2, every single thing you touch gets 1% better. All right, tip number 3, care 15% less. I know that sounds crazy, right? But most of us here are perfectionists, and we live in a culture that tells us that the more you can care about something, the more you can put yourself into it, the better off that you and everybody else is going to be. But is that really true? Even if you could just go from an A+ level down to A-, that would save you so much energy, and it's not going to compromise the output. Nobody's going to notice. Now, I'm not saying that you need to stop being perfectionist where it counts. I'm just saying you need to dial it back because most of the places, frankly, it doesn't count. Good enough is good enough. And dialing it back 15%, you're not blowing off your boss. You're not blowing off your commitments. You're not being unethical. All that does is change how much energy you're losing by over-investing. So here's a thought exercise for you. Ask yourself, what are the areas in my life where I'm being too much of a perfectionist, where I'm over-investing in burning energy and nobody's noticing and it's not showing up in the final project? In other words, where could I care 15% less? And to do that, you really gotta be honest with yourself, because if you're spending 15% less energy overachieving at work, that's 15% more energy that you could put into a personal project or a goal. That might be you coming home at the end of the day saying, you know what, I actually could go to the gym right now. Okay, let's take a pause. Today's sponsor is Lifehack Tribe. Lifehack Tribe is a membership program that we created for those of you who are feeling overwhelmed, overworked, disorganized. Each month in Tribe, we host live calls, in-depth trainings, pre-planning sessions where we plan our weeks and our months together. We do coaching calls, so much more. In Tribe, what we're really doing is we're a support group to support each other to create our highest levels of productivity and accountability so that we can all build the kind of life that nobody else gets to have. Now, we're offering our viewers a really sweet deal right now. If you sign up using the link below, you get your first week in Tribe for just $1 so you can check it out. So if you're ready to get it together, if you're ready to create a freedom lifestyle, if you're ready to be more organized and disciplined than you've ever been before, click the link in the description below. Okay, now it's your turn. I want to hear from you. Do you have a personal project that you've been dragging your feet on? And what is one thing that you could do now to move that ball forward? And how could you care 15% less? Nobody would notice, and you'd have a little bit more energy at the end of the day to do those things you want to do. Gang, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up if you think we deserved it. And if you're obsessed with human potential and just living your best life like we are, consider subscribing to this channel and joining our journey to complete lifestyle freedom. And I'll see you in that next video.